Call to order, City of Alpine Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, February 24th, 2025. I show 5:30 PM. City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
And we have a new member. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kara Gogler.
Thank you. And what ward are you in?
What?
Are you in a special ward or?
He's
something?
in four.
Ward 4.
I'm in
Okay.
4.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right. Public comments. Each person in attendance who desires to speak to the board on an item in the agenda shall speak during this session. You get 3 minutes apiece. We do not ask questions. And you will not hear directly from the board during this period of the public comments. Are there any public comments to begin with?
We have one for sure, Shelley Atwood. You can go.
You can stand up and
Up here at the podium.
to the podium and identify yourself and your ward.
I'm Shelley Atwood and I live in Ward 2 at 404 West Sul Ross Avenue, just 200 feet from the American Legion, which seeks permission to stay open until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm here to oppose this and to highlight the alarming changes overtaking our neighborhood. The Legion has been here for decades. When we moved in 20 years ago, it was a quiet bingo parlor. Now, with an outdoor band shell, which we were never consulted about, they're asking for later hours. Those hours until 2 a.m. are when patrons could cross the DWI limit, sending drunk drivers out onto our streets. Are those the hours our community needs? Violence has hit our once quiet neighborhood. One night, a stabbing victim was left bleeding on the street during the wee hours of the morning in front of our house. That's not what we signed up for when we moved here. The beauty salon across the street has compromised our quality of life and was just the camel's nose under the tent. The Airbnb behind us brings strangers who don't respect our peace, and our neighborhood is changing for the worse. The Airbnb dug up a trench next to our house for a sewer line, leaving rubble at the road and sidewalk for months. 2 years later, the road's still not repaired. Rick Stevens stepped in and got the contractor to fix the sidewalk, but the street is still in disarray. We've had 2 sewer backups, one from that trench, another from new utility poles piercing our unmarked sewer line. And we are getting kind of tired of all of the changes that we're forced to take. Alpine Central Business District has lots of vacant buildings, perfect for growth, but the city pushes businesses into residential areas instead of allowing us to have our peaceful life. Yet downtown sits underutilized and our neighborhoods arose. Where we once knew our neighbors, we now see strangers, residents, passersby, or worse. This burdens long-term residents like us, especially those with fewer resources, stripping away our sleep, safety, and quality of life. I'm opposed to the permit to allow the Legion to stay open until 2. Consider the real toll on residents, our peace, our homes, not just business gains. Focus growth downtown, not in our backyards. These changes upend our lives. I'm not against change, but it shouldn't mean violence, drunk drivers, sewer backups, and sleepless nights for those of us here for 20 years. The city's favoring business at our expense. Please don't approve these late hour permits and make our home unlivable. Thank you.
You. Any other public comments? We will move on to public hearings. At this time, I will invite members of the public to address each item listed in the section, which I will read. Comments made during this section, you get 3 minutes apiece again. Once again, the Planning and Zoning Board will Commission will not respond to these. Public hearing A. Public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments regarding special use permit 2025-0301. A special use permit allowing the applicant, American Legion, post number 79, is requesting the permit to be issued to obtain a late hour certificate from the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission to allow open hours until 2 a.m. The subject property is located at 306 West Sul Ross Avenue. The property owner of record is the American Legion. The parcel ID of the subject is 11884. The current zoning classification is C2 Business District and will remain the same if the application is approved. Any public hearing, any comments on that? Stand up, identify yourself and state which, who you're representing.
Andy Ramos, I'm the commander at the American Legion, and I live in Ward 1, 2.5 blocks from the American Legion. And we're required to be open till 2 o'clock. And it's not all the time. It'll be probably just weekends, but weekends, holidays and stuff like that. It's not gonna be an everyday thing. It depends on the business. Now, we're a great asset to the city. We donate $125,000 back to the community. Okay, we just got to donate 125 pairs of shoes to kids from the Tri-County. We provided meals for Christmas, another 125 to 130 baskets. So we're an asset to this community. We do a lot of volunteer work. We also help those that are homeless. We'll provide them a room for a couple of nights, and also with our veterans. So, it's, we're asking because also the price of everything has gone up lately. And so we got to keep up with it. And if we could keep up just on, on the majority, like the weekends and holidays, that'd be a great help to us, because we do give back to the community. That's what we're all about. And I appreciate if y'all reconsider and let us open till 2 o'clock. Thank you. And also, there's no police reports. The stabbing did not happen at the American Legion. It was outside of it in the street. And it was someone that came in from out of town that created the ruckus. But other than that, we have not had any report from the police or APD going in there to say, hey, you're out, you're too loud. You got a lot of ruckus going on, because we control it. I put CDs on folks that get out of hand, and they're not permitted to go back into the Legion again. We have a family-oriented bar and business. So with that, I want to thank everybody for your time. Thank you.
Any other comments on A? I see none. We'll move on to B, public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments regarding the passage of an ordinance implementing updates to Appendix C, zoning of the Alpine Code of Ordinances. Proposed updates include amendments to general zoning regulations, land use, acceptable uses, unacceptable uses, minimum standards, processes, permits, and general zoning issues to the city. I see no comments there. C, public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments regarding the passage of an ordinance implementing updates to Chapter 22, businesses, Articles 4, alcoholic beverages, to the Alpine Code of Ordinances, establishing regulations and requirements regarding the sale of alcohol within the city, and providing for specific zoning districts in which alcohol may be sold. I see no public hearings there. I'm going to move on to approval of the minutes of the previous board meetings.
We had one more public hearing. It was D.
Yeah, no, D.
Not in my package.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments regarding the passage of an ordinance amending Chapter 78, signs of the Alpine Code of Ordinance, amending the rules, regulations, and general requirements regarding signs and corporate city limits. Any public comments there? I see none. I don't think I have any notes on that one though, so, but well, I might have to use your package.
We can share.
We'll share, okay. All right. Now we move on to approval of minutes of the previous board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Meetings from the previous meeting are approved.
We just need to take a vote on it.
Okay. All I votes?
Aye.
We're unanimous. Okay, discussion items. Discussion regarding updates to Appendix C, the zoning of the Alpine Code of Ordinances. Proposed updates include amendments to general zoning regulations, land use, acceptable uses, unacceptable uses, minimum standards, processes, permits, and general zoning in the city. Megan, would you like to start the comments on that?
So in your packet, this has been an ongoing discussion with council and with the planning and zoning commission. At the last planning and zoning commission, we did have a workshop. We did have a few council members attend. regarding the changes specifically with, renaming R4 to multi, use. Sorry. It's a very long Monday. I don't think I said that correctly. Well, changing R4, providing cleaner definitions regarding the mobile, manufactured, modular homes. The initial conversation started with planning and zoning, you guys made some recommendations, it went to city council for a workshop, they made some recommendations. It went back to planning and zoning with another combined workshop with city council. After the last meeting, Jessica was kind enough to go in and make the updates based on the conversation.
Thank you,
And all of
Jessica.
those are all included within your pack.
And these are included in the packet that I have, starting on page 31, Jessica. Down there on the lower right-hand side. 31 through, I have 93.
Yeah, so the first part is the actual ordinance that would be included in the council. And then of course, there's all of the changes that are marked through, within the ordinance itself. All of the added sections are included as well as what's underlined. Now, this still does have to go through our normal ordinance process. So once you've made your recommendation, we do make sure that our legal counsel reviews it as well as our city council for about 2 weeks. Then it would go for the first reading for city council for review.
And the markings in yellow in the packet are additions.
Yes.
And the markings in red are deletions.
So the ones that are additions are just gonna be underlined in the exhibit. And then, any ones in red and strike through text is gonna be omission.
Omissions.
The yellow additions, is that what we got back from the city council?
So there is yellow in the current ordinance, and that's just dates that need to be modified.
Okay.
The one that y'all have in your packet there on page 33.
If there's no yellow within the actual ordinance, like the zoning.
The exhibit. Yeah, there's no.
Exhibit. The
Right.
exhibit is either red strike through, which means it's being removed, or black underline, which means it's being held.
Okay,
So a
thank
lot
you.
of the stuff that was considered was, of course, the square footage of the lots, what was allowable and wasn't allowable. And you'll notice that under C1A, there's that whole section that's being removed.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite a bit of information.
It is. They worked hard on it. You guys have been working on this for
Very hard
like
on it, yeah.
months now, so.
And I think you missed our workshop.
I know, and that was a
That was a-
long,
that
stuck
was a
my
long-
nose in it,
that was a long one on
I'm
that one.
sorry.
No,
I
no
really
problem.
screwed that
No
one up,
problem.
didn't I?
I will go through each board member, and we will see if there's any specific questions on the package itself, as far as this section goes. Start with Linda. Linda, did you have any questions?
No, I think the sooner we can have something together for the public, the better.
Yeah, I think it cleaned it up very well. That was all the discussions that we had. Tom is not here. Tara?
No, I haven't even really had a chance to review this. So,
No question. Then.
No.
Joanna?
Did we end up with, and Jessica would know this more than anybody, because we kind of had this conversation, the section that you were getting creative on what you were talking about with the smaller homes and things like that,
Yeah,
because I didn't get a chance to really zone in on that, but did that come off like it was supposed to?
We added into the R4,
Okay,
like casita style houses with a smaller square footage.
right,
We also recommended the C1A and C2A that we had discussed to be
Right.
combined into one.
right. And that would have been the main, and the only other thing I could ask is that you would know off the top of your head is like the descriptions by zoning, like what can and cannot go in there, like different things that were missing. Did we get those added back
So all the
in?
definitions are updated as well.
Okay, good. So the ones that we were missing were added back in.
Sizes were updated too.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let her summarize, because I know she knows what I'm talking about, yeah.
The first time we discussed it, there was a few definitions that you
Right.
added, they were added in. I believe there was like modular wasn't in there, we added modular in. And there was a couple others that we added into the definitions. And then-
We had new definitions there too with.
Yeah, there was some. added.
New ones that needed to be added into.
All of the edits that were recommended from you have been added.
Because I'd seen the changes that you did before. I just didn't know if anything came back from city council different other than that. But aside from that,
That's it.
we're good. Okay. Thank you for all your work.
That was a lot of work to
Yeah,
especially
it was a lot.
with this package here with all the deletions. Commissioner Nick?
Yeah, I think it looks, I went through it, this weekend, it looks thorough.
The one thing that I did edit, since the last one is the square footage requirement for the lot sizes, because that's something that was brought up a lot. Darren had discussed it, and a couple other people had brought it up, and so I had edited it from 7,000 to 5,000, so that is one edit that was changed that was not there previously. So pretty much you'd be a 50-foot wet width and 100-foot length is like the basic, like lot size instead of 7,000, which I don't think it, just so you know, so it's clear if there's a lot of edits in there, so I was like, I just.
We're talking about for the smaller,
Smaller homes.
Smaller lot size.
yeah, smaller lot size for the smaller homes, right? Okay, good, got it. Thank you.
Okay, that's discussion item A. Discussion item B. Discuss regulation updates chapter 22, business article 4, alcoholic beverages, the Alpine Code of Ordinances, establish regulations and requirements regarding. Boy, paper out. Almost sale of alcoholic beverages, but then I had to undo the big old clip. And providing specific zoning districts for which alcohol may be sold. Megan Hampton, we are ready for you now.
So in conversation with council, with the office of the city secretary, we have the permits that come in to apply for the ability to sell alcohol within the city limits. We are set to a 30-day deadline by the state of Texas in which we need to approve or disapprove the application. Currently, the applications do have to go through the special use permit process. It has to go before planning and zoning, which then it goes before council. In order to meet those deadlines with the state and to streamline the process, I asked Geo to work on something that would be beneficial to the department, as well as meet the required state deadline, as well as the zoning. We've had the conversation with, I don't want a bar next to my house. This would kind of streamline this ability for the city secretary's office to move forward with the process a little bit faster. But as well as when someone applies for a permit, they'll know off the bat, okay, I'm in a R1, can't have a permit. Kind of helps with that information. This is all new, which is why you'll see that the whole entire thing is underlined in black. There's no edits, there's no removals, there's no revisions. It is 100% new. It does outline, of course, the procedures and the policies to move forward with the permit. It does also include the information necessary, because I know we have a lot of conversations sometimes about our gas stations, one's right across from the elementary school, how do they have a permit? What are those types of requirements? The state does outline some of that, which Geo did include within the documents as well. Hours of operation, and of course the permitting and license fees. But it's pretty all in depth.
Yeah, because the whole thing is pretty new. Gio, did you want to mention the problems that we
Thank
had?
you for that. I was like, do I
trying
go
to get
back or
things
do I go
approved?
forward? I'm figure out which way to that.
Sure, so the current process takes us past the 30-day deadline the state provides us. But without a strong alcohol ordinance, we really don't have much of a choice. This would basically make it allowable in a couple of different districts, I think primarily like business district or commercial. We would have actually issues with that as well, because we have certain spot zones around the city. So that's something that would need to be taken into consideration eventually, especially at the council level. Of course, the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council can initiate a zoning change request and go through the process to change some of those spot zones. I think that's one of the biggest concerns, being that we have like a couple in residential areas in the middle of a residential area. Other than that, I think that with those zoning districts, it would work out pretty nicely. And most cities have the automatic approval for the zoning, based on the zoning for alcohol. And that would allow us to meet the deadline. It would give me a set, you know, if it's in the appropriate district, then I can go ahead and just sign on. You know what I'm saying? Right now, the process takes easily like 2 months, so.
And what does TABC say about that wait?
No one has complained.
Okay.
That's the only reason we are continuing to do it the way we do, because otherwise it would be me deciding whether or not to do it, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think there needs to be a mechanism, and essentially it goes through a broad public review for the special use permit process, which includes neighbor notification. So it's obviously the better option to do it that way right now. But this, if this ordinance were to go through, you know, we'd hold the public hearings about it. So that people would be notified if there is gonna be a change somewhat, and then the process would allow me to basically approve it in the appropriate zone.
So there would still have to be a public hearing.
There'd be one public hearing for the ordinance.
Right.
So, you know, then the citizens would be notified that we're gonna change zoning regulations regarding alcohol. There's already a publication in the first week of this month in the paper. But no, there would no longer be public hearings if it was an appropriate zone.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
jumped ahead of you, excuse me. So if you live in a, say, a C1 zone. And somebody wanted to came in to apply for a liquor license, as long as they're already in that zone calls for it, you're gonna approve it. You would
Yes.
be able to do that. That's what it says.
And that's
in a
what you'll
nutshell.
typically
Yeah.
find in most cities because of the deadline
Right.
to approve, yeah.
I mean, you should know that if you're moving into C1, that you have that
That's a
chance. I
possibility.
mean, I knew
Yeah.
that. I'm just asking the
The only
question.
other way, you know, is in some districts, like the industrial district.
Mhm.
I believe it might require a special use permit, and if that's the requirement by ordinance, we would follow the special use permit process.
Okay,
If it was in that specific zone that requires that.
thank you.
So it would not matter what type of permit, if it was a late hour, or a restaurant, as long as they sell alcohol.
Yeah, because the current ordinance, the alcohol ordinance, does allow businesses to stay open till 2. We don't prohibit that in any way or in any zone. So if this went through, if it was a commercial zoning, it would automatically be approved.
Be 2 AM.
Okay, I can sign off on that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too, it's also dependent on the application that they provide.
Yeah, because not everybody applies for a late hour certificate.
Right.
So what is
even
it?
When they applied originally, they didn't apply for a late hour certificate, which is why they're needing one now to stay open till 2.
Right.
So the regular
you-
closure time is midnight?
Sammy would like to take it correctly.
It's on Fridays, my name is Sammy Dorel, I'm one of the members of the Legionnaires. Fridays we open till midnight and we can stay open till 1 on Saturdays. So it's-
Already?
It's just, yeah, okay, it's not midnight.
But the late hour provides it till 2.
Right.
That is correct.
Thank you. Hey,
To go to city council too.
Yes.
this would be a recommendation. Yep. Any commissioners have any further comments?
I mean, one of the things is that we're just putting our planning and zoning and, you know, people are barely gonna be dealing with that, and, you know, we've seen a lot of people coming in saying that, oh, their house is commercial and people are trying to, you know, have music late. I mean, that's what I felt like in the past months. That's really what we've been dealing mostly with. And so, you know, I understand like a place opening, like a gasoline station, grocery store, even restaurants, you know, they have a different TABC permit, which they're allowed to, you know, because it's a family friendly compared to a bar or a club or things like that. And that's gonna be kind of new for our community. You know, because before it wasn't like that years ago. And, you know, only places like Rihanna could sell because they were considered like a club and they had to have memberships and stuff like that. So I'm just curious of, how it would change our community overall.
So currently, because we lack a strong zoning ordinance, all of the grocery stores, anybody who seeks a TABC permit will go through the special use permit process. So I mean, it's certainly like, you can implement something different, because right now, the way this ordinance is written is that it would be allowed, well, it's strictly prohibited in any residential zone. It would be allowed in C1 neighborhood commercial district and C1A neighborhood commercial district and C2 business district. So, again, that usually wouldn't be problematic if we didn't have commercial spots, which we do have a few. One, we have a city council member who, her area is zone commercial from a long time ago. So not that she would open a bar, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think to me, it's more that we want to grow our C1 area, and I think more people be willing to say, oh, we would like to have, all these different businesses, but when you're talking about bars, I notice that that's the biggest thing people come and talk about, and maybe that's solved through your, what is it? Music noise and stuff like that, but even that, it's been hard for us to deal. And I'm just saying, we could also have in the city ours that the only people that have to come through something like this is bars or the ones with after hour permits or stuff like that. And I don't think, grocery stores or any of those that they're not consuming in a place need to come through this. And even the people that have like a food and beverage permit, which is restaurants, because they are having to prove to TABC that they have to have a restaurant. I don't think those need to come, like the mom and pop restaurants, but I think it's people that don't have those permits and are required to have a bond and all of that, then those, maybe there should be more restrictions. And maybe we do have it in this new guidance. I didn't read it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'd say that the commission can certainly amend it, make recommendations on what they'd like to see. But it would be probably one of two options, either changing the way the zoning, what it includes, or like specifically saying all of certain permits, like late hour certificate and mixed beverage, because that's liquor, would require to go through a permit process, but it's still kind of iffy just because it would bring that, because we have a lot of deadlines. So we have to have notices in the paper 15 days ahead of meetings for public hearings and things like that. So it would still make the whole process too long, likely, for the state deadlines, and that's the issue there.
And I think, when they're getting a mixed beverage permit, everywhere it takes a while. By the way, I was a TABC audit officer, which meant all licensing for this area, 28 counties, I was responsible for reviewing. So all the cities were like that. And this one, I know you guys didn't have an ordinance, and Fort Davis was the same way. But to me, I think what I'm more concerned is that I want our community to grow for commercial businesses. And C1 is where we're gonna open to that. And I don't know if we say, okay, all C1s can have all sorts of permits, that automatically people are gonna start thinking more of bars and things like that. Not that I'm against it. I'll be one of those people, my husband wants to open one if he could. But again, it's a thought.
Yeah, that and the spot zoning are definitely some items to consider.
So my question is, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
So, I'm looking at this and it's the C1, C2. It's not the office, CO, right? We still call it CO. I can't remember.
Zero, yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't include an R4, the new R4 would not allow
No residential.
at all, period. That's what I wanted to make sure of. Okay. Now, is there anywhere in here, because it seems like I read one point, I don't remember where. Jessica, maybe you'll know if there's a time limit or like you can't have, like in C1 or C2, you have certain hours of operation, which you can only do certain things.
There's a noise ordinance about regulating noise and.
And maybe that's what I'm
decibel
thinking of,
levels.
yeah.
And then there are hours that you can be open to sell alcohol.
Okay, so you could at least apply the noise levels in a C1 or a C2,
And they're lower in residential.
even if they have
Yeah.
an open late permit to what, 2 AM or something like that, the noise.
The noise ordinance covers like what's acceptable at the
midnight.
location based on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the proximity to residential areas.
Does it have a time frame on it?
Yes, per
Yeah.
time frames, and it's per zoning district. as well.
That's what I thought. And that cuts it off around 11 or midnight or something like that, doesn't
I
it?
think it's.
And there's also a permitting process with the noise. or, like, if
That's what I was
they wanted
talking about,
so-
yeah.
So people, if they wanted to hold a musical event, something in their neighborhood or, something in one of the businesses, they have to apply for a permit. And that gives them an additional hour, but that is also regulated.
It's, okay, that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
And the city has the decibel meters, right?
Thank you.
And I just want to point out, the reason why we brought up the alcohol ordinance at the same time you guys are doing the zoning ordinance is because they affect each other. And so if we need additional discussion, I completely understand. I don't want to rush into making a decision. But I just, like, your whole conversation right now is like, residential versus commercial, and if we want to change the zoning ordinance to allow something more specific, if it has to do with an F2P process. This is the time to kind of work through those discussions or throw out your ideas and suggestions.
We may need to think about it more.
Yeah.
Lots to think about.
I have a suggestion just to think about, that you could make it so that C2 is automatic. The C2 is business district, it's all downtown. It's all
Right.
gray. And then maybe a C1, C1A would have special use, conditional use, but it'd still make it a longer process. So that's the only thing for Gio, it'd make it difficult for him.
Well, it's not
because-
even for me, it's
Yeah,
more
for the
for
state, yeah.
if we got a complaint, we,
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what happens if they were to submit a complaint, but we're operating against the law. The law says if they submit an application 30 days, within 30 days, we need to act
Right.
on it. And there's just no way with the special use permit process and public hearing process that we can do that.
No, and I completely understand what you're saying, but if somebody's gonna live in an area like that, then you expect to have those things. If you know you moved into an area that
Right.
caters to that.
Yeah.
And
Commercial
what would be the
slash
circumstances where you might deny that or say no?
I will, right now, there's not an ordinance, so I send them all to city.
Yeah.
council. So
Okay,
to-
so
to
City
y'all,
council still has to
I
approve.
mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just wanted to.
Right now, yeah,
Yeah.
everyone goes through that. Like I said, I do it because so it can get a broad public review, so people will be notified, et cetera. Since we lack a approved ordinance, it says we can do it X, Y, Z.
But if we adopt this new one, could the city still say no?
No, not if you allowed it in a certain zoning district, then it would be allowed in that district.
Okay,
Well, so yes, the city as in Geo could say no. If I come in and I say, I want to, have my alcohol permit approved and I live in an R1, Geo's automatically gonna say no.
Right.
So there is some still no approval, but if it's in the designated zones based on the ordinance, Geo would be able to sign off on it and move it through the process.
but they would still have to meet the noise requirements and
Mhm.
and the hours.
But we've heard from previous people, it's hard to know that
Very
until the
hard.
place already open, they have a permit.
Yep.
And then they have this booming music. And to me, again, it's more of if we want to grow or see too. And then we're looking at, oh, there's a house here. What about if a bar? Oh, what about that's my only concern. I know when we try for the clinic to make it commercial, that's what people were concerned. Oh, because what kind of place if she sells, what else can it go in there?
Mhm.
And that's really it. But there's not gonna be a group of people that have an opportunity to say, no, this is not a good place because of whatever reason.
How many times are we going to going forward, take something even from like you were talking about with your place at residential to a commercial? We're not doing that anymore. We took out the spot zoning. We kind of cleaned that up, didn't we?
No, there's still some concerning ones, I think. Like Jessica said, an option might be just to do C2 business district, because that's the main downtown area.
Mhm.
But the main concerning one is gonna be C1, because there's a lot of C1 spot zones in residential areas. But
Okay,
the planning
that
and
makes
zoning commission,
sense.
like I said, and the city council have the authority to initiate a spot zone, a request to change it.
Hmm.
But it would be a process. You would have to find the parcel, notify the surrounding owners and go through the whole process, notify the owner, for example, and I don't think it would be too bad. There's a way to fix it.
And it still wouldn't be in compliance with state law?
The spot zoning? No,
I mean, not the spot
unless
zoning,
it
but
meets certain
But the
criteria.
city given the permit.
Mhm. What permit?
if you gave the permit for that bar, let's say. Um. If this passes,
So if I,
The way that it's written, it would be automatically approved as long as it's in those zones that I listed earlier.
so if I buy a block somewhere and it says it's a C1 or a C2, I mean, I'm buying land and I'm not gonna tell everybody, oh, I'm gonna go put a bar there. That's my intention. Now, TABC has a bunch of different rules, you know, itself. You know, if it's near a school, a church, or things like that, but again, you know, the first look is up to our city to see if it would work or not.
I wonder if C1 can't be just not a bar.
Well, you can remove C1 as an option for bars. I don't think that would be too problematic, because I don't see C1 being the areas that would often be seeking a bar.
Right.
C2 would be the one.
Jessica provided kind of a compromise with it where you could put that, you know, if we said C2 because that's mainly the
Right.
downtown area, automatically would get approved. Residential would not. But then if it's a C1A, they would have to do a special use permit. So you could put that specific C2 would be, let's say approved, but C2 would be authorized, residential would be, and then C1A would be.
Yeah.
through special use permit.
So, for an example, back in the holidays, and they were trying to get the approval on, no, it was, oh, shoot, Harry's, I guess it is. Didn't that one come through? Yeah. And that was the one that got pushed because of the holidays and we didn't have a quorum or something like that. But isn't that already zoned C2, Harry's?
Yes.
Should
But
be.
So
because
that
of-
would have allowed him to go ahead and just move it on
Mhm.
through. And that's what I'm looking for, is something like that, which we know is just like it's just gonna go and it takes it off you. So, okay, I would agree with
That's-
Jessica. I would go for the
To
C2.
remove the.
Yeah.
C1.
you
Yeah.
can see
Also
one.
Remove the
the
C1.
idea coming up after we get this zoning stuff taken care of, we clean it up, then we'll have the comprehensive plan. And with that, our C2 might go further down the highway, because right now a lot of the C1 is like down by Holiday Inn, as a Holiday Inn, the one, the hotels down there and Dairy Queen, that one direction. Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay. I knew what she was talking about.
C1, that's all C1 down there, so like
Mhm.
later, like obviously, when you guys have your discussion about the comprehensive plan, which would be an overlay of the future growth of Alpine. And where you see commercial going, because we want to see commercial grow. Then you could say, this is where we want C2 to spread to. And then as they come in and they want to do that, they could rezone it to C2 with a comprehensive plan that's in place. And then they could put a bar there, because it would be in alignment with that.
But then you would know what's going in
You
there.
would know,
too.
yeah, you'd have a
You
direction.
know what you're dealing
Yeah,
with.
so we can't really do
Yeah.
that without.
I
having
like that. I
rules right
like
now.
putting a cap
Right.
on the C2 and then leaving the others open.
At least for now. Right?
I do, yeah.
I think that's a good compromise.
So
think so.
remove C1 and C1A. You wanna
Yeah.
see the map? I can put it up.
You see
here.
that?
I
That's
just
another
leave it
thing.
C2, yeah, just leave it C2.
No,
for
or
now.
the C1, show us.
Commercial.
C1A starts getting sketchy. That's what we had to clean up
So
before.
this is the most recent official map, so it's changed a little bit over the years.
Mhm.
But as y'all see, this is the C2 right here.
Yes.
There's some C1A over here. But
Yellow.
all of this, for example, would be C1. And then these spot zones would be C1 as well. All right here in red.
How many, is there any C1As down there in that last section that you pointed at?
The C1As are mostly right here.
Okay,
But
but
there's one
that's a
out
lot of residential over there, isn't it?
Is any of them my building?
It's along the highway. It's like by the Coca-Cola plant and all of that C1A on the
Yeah.
highway.
But you
And then
got,
There's one
Uh,
weird spot
y'all
down.
need your
you got a lot of mobile
C1.
homes and all the other stuff down in there.
Well,
I
Love
would just
Lodge
stick
and all that is
C2. and
did
then
it, didn't you guys discuss
but
that,
then we have look the C1As and C1s.
C2.
118
Case
would
by
be
case.
Yeah.
moving
I think
into
it would be
commercial?
better for him, because then
So
he
that was-
wouldn't have had to worry. And that's just a slam, because they're buying.
Hold on.
Highway 118 and Highway 90 as into C2s. Yes, we understand that there are residentials along both sides, but those are basically the four entrances into the city. And currently, those are where a lot of our commercials expand. So part of the comprehensive plan, we looked at ideally designating those as some type of commercial property, and making sure obviously we meet the current requirements.
Sure.
I know we talked about grandfathering, but it would be a part of the whole discussion. But yes, we are looking mainly right now is South 118. Because there are kind of a hit and miss with C1, C2 are just kind of clean it all up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And so right now, if I were to remove the C1A and the C1, it would at least provide a mechanism for me to approve anything along the.
Which is the downtown area, and
Which
that's
is
what
the
we
most,
want.
you know.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, and keep in mind that the new convenience store opens, et cetera, we would still go through the special permit process. for the-
It's a lot of work for you because, you know, a convenience store, that's easy. I mean, a lot of those. But I'm just thinking when we grow more to 118 and stuff like that, what else could we end up going that
Yeah,
nobody knows?
that's, yeah,
But
you
for
wanna
now,
hold on.
I
on
wanted
that,
to do
yeah.
the C2, I think that's a
Think so.
pretty solid
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
And then we can add in there that any other zoning requests would need to go to the special use permit process. It would at least help
Yes.
out some.
Now,
So for,
I think it would take a lot of the headache out.
so for tonight, we should, when we get to where we're gonna vote on this, we should not vote on it, we should table it. Until,
If you're ready, you can vote to approve it with those amendments.
with C2 only.
Your
She
motion
just-
would be to approve it with the recommended amendments.
okay,
And we can move it forward with your amendments, and that was to remove the.
but if we tabled it, we could get the amendments next meeting then.
You can do it right now,
You
because
do it right
right
now?
now it's an action item, but once we, discussion.
This is-
Once we get to the action item, you can go ahead and approve it with the amendments that you discussed, and then we will add the amendments and then send it on, do an ordinance process, which is already a little lengthy.
So,
Instead of waiting a whole other month.
right,
Another 2
yep.
weeks.
Right.
okay,
All right.
Right.
Thank you. Let's try.
that's A and B, action items.
Okay.
Action items. Action item A, Gio, do you want to read that one?
Sure, action item A is approved special use permit 2025-03-01 and special use permit allowing the applicant American Legion Post number 79. To obtain a late hour certificate from the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission to allow open hours until 2 a.m. The subject property is located at 306 West Far Off Avenue. The property owner of record is American Legion. Parcel ID of the subject property is 11884. The current zoning classification of the subject property is C2 Business District, and it will remain the same if the application is approved. We just need a motion and a second.
I make a motion.
To approve,
Did you get
right?
second?
Yes, to
Okay.
approve.
Did you second it?
I'll second.
Okay, all right.
Alrighty, and then we can move on to.
No. Any comments on that one?
My first question, did you have a question first?
Mm-mm.
Okay. How late, how many of the establishments, let's say, in town are open until 2?
The Railroad Blues is the only one that's opening until 2 right now. But Harry's is.
Will open till 2.
Requesting a late hour certificate for 2 in the morning as well.
Okay.
They're not in,
They're in,
by the residential.
no, they're in C2 already.
The Legion is
The
in
Legion's
C2, and
C2.
so is Harry's, and so is the Blues.
Legion, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my next question is, again, I think we've already answered this, and we have the ordinance, and whereas if it does get approved, that there wouldn't be any loud bands at least after, is it midnight? Is that our curfew?
So the noise ordinance is its own separate one, so it governs anything noise related.
Okay. But that does cut off it.
I can look it up, it's pretty thorough.
I think it cuts off at midnight. The noise ordinance.
It all depends on the district. It's like I said, very thorough. There's a lot of regulations.
Well, I mean, because I can tell you, I listen to the Saddle Club and Granada,
Right there.
you know, out my backyard. I'm out, they're on top of me. Just when I listen to it. And I don't even mind the music back there. I don't. And when I moved into the place, I knew what I was getting into. I just think sometimes if like there's some other things going on there on the corner now where they're a little later, and I wouldn't want it dragging on till 2 a.m. You know, even though I bought into that, I would prefer not to have, you know, music until 2 a.m. since we do reside in the area, but that's just a personal thing, and I didn't know if our ordinance would cover that or not.
8 hour certificate.
I'm not even worried about it, to be honest, because they don't do, right now, they don't. But, I mean, they're, as time goes on, if one does it, then another one does it, and another one does it. So that's what I'm kind of looking down the road at. Am I gonna have it? I don't mind the music in my backyard when I just don't want to listen to it all night.
So to kind of address it, live music has to have a permit.
Uh-huh.
And they still have to maintain a certain decimal level, and they're only allowed to play till 2 on Friday and Saturday. So the Legion would still have to have a permit to be able to play live.
Until
outside
2 if they wanted to.
On, with the permit, it can be maintained until 2 p.m. Friday or Saturday, so like Thursday, they.
2 a.m. or 2
a.m.
2 a.m.
Evening sound levels are still regulated, even with the permit, so that they still have a lot to follow. And this doesn't include DJs. So DJs are also addressed, those have to be maintained at a level as well. So there is a lot of regulations when it comes to them.
Okay.
Now, the hard part is I feel like sometimes Alpine only has this little bubble, and you can hear music
All over town, yeah. You can.
I listened to the Civic Center.
Right.
They had a wedding in December. I got to hear the music because I live just across the street down that way. So
I can hear this, I can hear the band every morning. With the kids playing their instruments.
Oh, yeah, yeah, from the middle.
It's just, 2 a.m., you're kind of like, wanting to go to bed. I'm just saying. Okay, just something to think about. Thank you.
Is there a way to be more specific on the days? Does it have to be every day of the week allowed or?
Well, if we were to sign off on the late hour certificate, it would be whatever the late hour certificate says or the ordinance allows. So if our ordinance allows operation until 2 a.m., which it does, and we signed off on the late certificate, then they'd be allowed to operate whatever.
Not just, you couldn't just
They
do
can do whatever they want.
Friday and Saturdays or something like that.
It would be dependent on what the ABC allows. If the ABC doesn't have any regulations regarding that, then it would fall to the cities, which allows them to be open.
Looks
And
like,
they don't, so.
yeah, most establishments close well before that.
Well,
I'm a patron of the Legion and they close early if they're dead too.
that's true.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking back to the old days, back when like
Legion
our toll tech was open and.
would be the least of my worries.
They stayed open till 4, it seemed like.
Saturdays, they close at 11:30.
Mm.
Add a little something to it. Excellent. Another thing is the Legion sits right across the police department. So, yeah, we're just across the street
Mhm.
and we've never been cited for loud noises. Our DJ plays inside the majority of times and he'll play usually on Fridays and that's the only night he plays unless it's a special event.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, we have gotten special permit for a band to play out at our stage.
Has there been any complaints?
No, not that I know of, and I'd be getting a complaint from the chief. He'd just walk right over to my
They
office.
just walk right over?
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, you got the Blues that stays open till 2 o'clock. And they're just a walking distance from us. You've got the old Gringo. That new place stays open till 2
Amigos,
o'clock.
yeah.
They don't stay open till.
Oh, they don't, they close
No,
now?
They close.
Yeah, because they were open till 2
Yeah, no,
o'clock.
I know because I have cameras and they set them off every night emptying the trash.
Okay, yeah, but no, yeah, we don't sell alcohol. I was
Yeah,
strictly
that's
beer.
right. That's something else. If you've not been to the Legion, you guys are just beer and wine only, right? You don't do mixed drinks.
We don't sell wine,
Oh,
you can
okay.
bring
It's
your own.
beer
And
only. Yeah, Blues does mixed and that's when it gets a
and I
little.
usually stay late at night and I monitor the camera from my home. And if I see anything that's deviating from what the norm is, then I just drive
Yeah.
over there.
And I think your
Stuff.
environment is very different than the Blues or what was
Yeah.
the old, the bar.
Granada,
when-
yeah.
Yeah, when it's, no, and I mean, the
Mhm.
college kids, cause they're the ones that get rowdy and, your place is more calm, people are having a beer and drinking.
And most of our patrons in the last 5 years, we changed the whole atmosphere. We're real restricted as to who goes in and their behavior in there. And so folks that go in there say, man, this is a regular bar where you can come and enjoy yourself. Nobody gets real rowdy or out of line. So, we've gotten that compliment.
Yeah, I think it's a very different environment compared to the blues, because
Yeah. Ours is more of an older crowd that goes
Yeah.
there. Yes.
More
Not as
established.
old as me, but still older.
Just to
Okay. All right,
I think I need to keep in mind here. We've tried to be good neighbors and not be the ones who are whining all the time about noise. But we hear music all the time from everywhere.
from the
And-
Legion.
It, not just from them, but you hear it from the Airbnb behind us. We've only made one police complaint in the whole time that we've lived there. And we probably should have been calling every time, but we didn't want to become that, that kind of person that you start getting ignored when you make too many complaints. So I'm telling you, we're not in favor of more loud noise keeping us awake all night. It's not fun. Now, maybe if you were in my position, you would, or apparently you are in my position and you're
Is
thinking.
your property zoned, excuse me for interrupting, is your
I'm sorry?
property, what is your property zoned, your personal property?
Residential, R2.
It is R2, but you're across the street.
We're on the same, we're
200
on the
feet
same
away.
side.
Okay, all right, thank you.
across from voting. They have.
Okay, yeah.
So
That was,
we're feeling very put upon, and it seems as though every change that the city wants, we have to accept. For example, the across the street, when we had the beauty salon step in, we offered the compromise. We didn't really want all these cars coming through, people that we don't know, but now we have that, and now we're gonna have the American Legion wanting to stay open until 2, so that means more late hours with more noise. And we're just seeing more and more of this happen, not to mention the Airbnb where they're playing music all night too, and they don't care. They don't live here. This is the problem with allowing more businesses in residential areas. I understand that you want to allow more business and that you want the growth in this town, but it is impacting the quality of life in Alpine. We have all kinds of Airbnbs now and no place for the residents to live. So I'm done.
our new zoning will fix that. New zoning will fix that.
All right, we're gonna take 5 before we vote on it.
Okay.
Take a break.
I didn't turn it on.
Your restrooms are what? Are you missing your partner in crime?
I do miss my lighting.
What is he doing now?
Did he say
Going back to
that?
Oh, okay.
Like he's working for Plumco.
Oh.
How are you?
I think he said midnight. I think that's something that-
Muy bien.
Oh, good, good.
Well, but you know what? She was ready. It was already there. It was until midnight. Midnight, so.
Every store you clear is.
So we're talking another 2 hours. And I kind of don't think that would be part of
This is the
it.
first time I've been. You know,
I didn't want to say it, but I mean,
But they're
generally,
they're more mature. But I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, she bought the American Legion. She said, yeah, they're.
can you be bothered by someone having hair salon?
Wait, she, um, no.
20 years
Correct
ago,
myself,
yeah.
so, but when she said it, she said it was something else.
What?
The American Legion was something.
It was a bingo place.
Bingo.
Yeah, it was a bingo house on the states.
Did
Um,
they serve beer?
they did, they served beer, and it was also BYOB. So I don't know if they sold the beer, cause I don't know. So it was that, but
I see it as a slippery slope. I really do, because we've got. Well, no, this is the only place you can go right now. But if you do this, and I can see, which he was talking about, anybody that confused with Granada and Amigos.
yeah,
Because Amigo, I know that because my son's bartender up there, Sam, right? And they close only on Friday and Saturday nights are they open. That, they don't have the late night thing. I don't know. He would, with food, I don't think he's going to, because I don't think he can't get his cooks. to Stay that late. But I see it, you know, and I'm like, but I don't want to stop. It's
if it's an occasional thing, I mean,
That's why I was wondering if you could get a special use permit.
that's basically what he's asking for, I think, but not an overall.
It's still gonna get- well, no, through the TABC, he has to apply for that. I know that.
So,
And that's costing them some money to do that.
of course, yeah, I mean, if they could do it on occasion, it's basic. I, the house is up on the loose on the north side next to the golf course. I can hear the blues from here.
I can hear the blues
So
in my
let's
house.
just call it what it is. We live in a bowl. It's-
Let me look at the back end of your package. I never got
Not
anything
something
on
I'm
the
happy
sign.
with, I'm just, you know,
Here you
like
go.
I said earlier, I knew when I got into that, that's what I was getting into, right?
Trying to do some catching up.
Those sign regulations. Did you have a chance to look at the sign regulations, this
I
package?
looked
Because it wasn't
over
in my package.
It wasn't in here.
Don't get your.
I looked at
package
it some
early.
online. We went through a lot of the sign stuff. I mean, that was one of the first things.
Right. Oh, I mean, I've been there, but I mean, this
I mean, I
package,
rewrote the
I mean,
sign.
tonight's package, did you review it?
I looked over it. I
Okay.
didn't, I don't know that I reviewed it as close as I should have. But I know that was.
But you liked it?
What is, what is?
It's,
The
well,
sign ordinance, we've been working on that for a year and a half.
I have forever.
2 years.
For a long time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the first
Yeah,
meetings
but
I
actually
came
it's
to.
for residential.
It was
if you wanna
crazy.
have a business there.
No, this is all the sign regulations, this part of the
The whole
package here,
thing.
all the signs and
All the changing in them, yeah.
changes, the different.
I just wonder if they address the lighting.
Okay, we'll come back.
Lighting is a separate ordinance.
I know, but these.
Okay, call the order. Guess we're ready to vote on A. Do we do a roll call vote?
If we'd like it.
Okay. Commissioner Molinar?
What do I supposed to say? Hey,
Uh,
no, what? Yes?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Or- Commissioner Griffith's not here, Commissioner Gogler, what did I say it?
Gogler,
Gogler, okay.
aye.
Commissioner Laxton,
I'm gonna say aye, but I'm gonna say they need to work together, and I think they will. Hopefully.
Commissioner Nix,
No, I don't know
No.
what I see.
and
nay.
Nay.
negative. And I'll vote aye. It is passed.
Want to take the board, thank you all very much.
Okay, action item B.
Alpine.
Approve a recommendation of the city council to approve an ordinance implementing updates to appendix C, zoning to the Alpine Code of Ordinance. Proposed updates include amendments to general zoning regulations. Land use, acceptable uses, unacceptable uses, minimum standards, processes, permits, and general zoning of the city. That was the main portion of this package.
Can I interrupt really quick?
yes.
I just, for the record, I wanted to confirm y'all wanted it with, oh no, we're not at that one. The alcohol. We're still gonna make that one.
No, that's the one we're on right now, isn't it?
Well, we just voted
No,
on it.
this one is the general zoning one.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're not
what are
done.
we-
We're
So
not
y'all
done.
did the special use permit.
Oh, okay, all
Right.
right.
For the
For
Legion.
the Legion.
Yeah.
Yes,
Legion,
yeah.
Yeah, we voted on that.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're voting on the It's actually the main portion of the package and,
Motion.
I need a motion
I make a motion.
I'll second.
and now we can discuss it. On my package, I have a question on the package for the city manager. It included in the package, a section of pages 23 to 28 on the lower bottom right that didn't seem to have anything to do with the rest of the package.
Oh, yeah, that was that weird little.
Um,
That was,
What was that?
that was just a mistake.
That was a
Copy.
mistake, okay.
Is it this right here?
So those were actually ownership documents confirming the Legion owned
Yes.
offer.
Oh, okay, so that was part of the Legion package, not
Yeah.
the, okay,
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right.
And then this next
Yeah.
document starts on page 31.
page 31, okay. Well, that answers my question there.
We're not lost anymore.
Not lost anymore. That was it was interesting, I was lost, but, now as far as B. It seemed like most of those changes were deletions. Basically cleaning up. The ordinance. Are there any questions on that?
Okay,
Any
so-
comments?
Not enough questions.
So we're on C and C is talking about.
No, we're on B. We're on B.
Okay.
We're on B.
All right.
We're still discussing the main part of the package here,
Okay.
which is basically all those red deletions.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second it.
All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Unanimous.
Whatever makes Jessica's job a little bit easier.
It's like, wait, I'm
Yes,
serious.
yes, that is- I promise I'll answer it 3 times.
Now we're gonna be on C. Approve a
Okay.
recommendation of the city council to approve an ordinance implementing updates, chapter 22, businesses, article 4, alcoholic beverages to the Alpine Code of Ordinances, establishing regulations and requirements regarding the sale of alcohol within the city and providing for specific zoning districts in which alcohol may be sold. For this, we have a recommendation for a change. Gio, would you like to
Yeah, we can just get a.
say the wording of that
Motion.
change?
Motion.
A
Well,
motion.
a motion, I have a motion to discuss.
I make a motion.
Okay, a second. Now, Gio, how would you, what sentence would you add in there to change the wording?
So on this one, in order to make the changes that we discussed, we would be looking at, let me see, is it there?
Not
It would be
include,
page 92. Of the actual ordinance is 407. And you see section 22-124 is about the sale in residential area. Says that it is strictly prohibited. All right, and then section 22-125 talks about off-premise consumption limited to certain zoning districts. I would amend it by removing C1 and C1A. And putting C2 or leaving C2 business district as allowable. And then make another notation that any other district would have to be considered by special use permit. process.
And you're talking about page 4?
Page 92.
Page 407, yes.
Hey, are you talking about that where it says 22, where is it?
lower bottom,
22, 125. So here you're talking about sales are off premises, so you're not even talking about consumption in premise, right?
Well, the next section is also on premise. So if you wanted to implement something different, like if you wanted to allow off premise for those same zoning designations that I just stated. Then we can do that. And then for on premise, we could just limit that to C2 business district if we wanted.
I'm more concerned about the on premise, to be honest. I
Mhm.
don't mind as much the off if. What is it, Blue Water opens another convenient little store going that way, you know, of course, there's, I mean, to me, I want. Highway 118 and all other ones to grow, but for me, it's more of these, because of on premise, because of. Like this, to give those people an opportunity to have a voice and say, you know, this is not a good place to put bar, basically.
Okay, well, we can certainly do that. So in that case, we'd leave 125 allowable for all those zoning districts, and then in 126, we would limit it to C2 business district. And then we can do for on-premise, special use permit process for any other commercial district.
And how would that, complicate your life?
It would make it much easier, because then I could say, okay, it's off premise, then I can approve it for those, and then in on premise, same thing, I can only approve it at C2 business district
Okay.
unless we go to.
And most of the applications would be on premise. I would think,
Well, for a bar.
for a bar,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
If
that's
someone
right,
wants to open a gasoline station going
Oh.
to 118, you don't want them to have to go through
right, yeah.
all of
yeah,
this,
yeah.
because
No.
TBC
Yeah.
is gonna
Like
make them to
Oculus.
be
Well, you already
TBC
have regulars,
certified
yeah.
and all of those.
Yeah,
And we're currently going through that. We have the applications that just came through because the gas stations do sell.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
when they sell the gas station and the new owner comes in, they have to get a new permit. They can't use the old permit.
Yes.
So this would help with any of those as well.
Yeah, grocery stores, we don't need to deal with any of those
Yeah.
because, and actually, after hearing your, what is it called? The noise one, we have a really good noise one, that in the future, if we really think in the future, we wanna grow more, an industry for restaurants going out those roads, I would consider that we could look at it, but right now, I don't feel like I'm prepared because we're coming out with, here's a new zoning, and we wanna tell people, we're gonna grow businesses that way. And I want them to feel okay that if we put a beauty salon, oh, it's only during the day, that if we say we're gonna open a place that sells alcohol. That's my thought.
Okay, I like that change,
I do like that.
so,
Good
An
catch.
amendment.
To,
Motion to amend.
so I make a
Motion to amend.
motion to amend,
The original motion to approve the ordinance with the discuss, the
with
changes.
the discussed changes.
yes.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, and second,
Second.
All in favor, vote aye.
I.
I,
Oh, you voted?
Get your hand up.
Okay, then raise your hand. Other hand.
Sorry.
Okay, it is unanimous.
Everything.
And now you need to
as amended. Yeah.
As amended.
So now y'all will vote on the original motion as amended, and we can go down and
So,
take that one.
with the amendments.
With
Right.
so,
I thought that's what we just voted on.
I,
I'll
Okay.
vote aye.
I,
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay, and then the part that I did not get in my package, let's go to this one. B. Approval recommendation of city council to approve an ordinance amending chapter 78. Signs of the Alpine Code of Ordinances, amending the rules, regulations, and general requirements regarding signs and corporate city limits. We have a motion to approve.
motion to approve?
You have a second? Megan, would you like to comment on that?
So we debated about this one, putting it on the agenda, and I wanted to go ahead and move forward with it because as you've mentioned, you guys have actually been working on this for probably about
A year, yeah.
And we're really trying to get these pushed through, and we have a forum tonight, so it worked out perfect. So the sign ordinance is actually something that Joanna Laxton had kind of brought up in several discussions with the different signs, especially those that are dilapidated. The tall metal ones that they're just, the framing left, there's nothing there. So I know Joanna did a lot of research. She spent a lot of time and with Jessica, and they were working through trying to figure out how do we clean it up, how do we enforce it, what do we want to accept, what do we don't want to accept. Of course, the dark sky, that also is a separate ordinance, but we want to make sure that the signs can stay within compliance with that as well. Also within conversations with city council and the office of the city secretary, it was brought up that we have kind of a political sign issue. Because we don't have a strict political sign policy, we basically follow the state. With, a little bit of regulation and all that. We wanted to add that as well. So there is a section here that addresses political signs. We thought it was important because we've had some big elections and we've got those signs that are going up and making sure that there's a process in place because they are allowed to put them on, certain properties. But we kind of want to regulate that they can't be up there 24 years later. Or.
All right.
10 months after the election. So Gina did a good job with providing that information. I know he worked back with Jessica on that as well. So you'll see that there's quite a few removals where we updated just the terminology itself, making sure that the definitions match what we were looking for. You'll notice that we did remove several sections and updated them. We did update the permitting process, the changes to the sign, special event signage is also updated. I think one of the big pet peeves I have is doesn't get correction from one, I call them ice cream stop sign.
A-frame sign?
Oh,
Sandwich
signs,
Yeah, I edited that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that one
They're
as
getting out
well.
of hand again.
It's not that we don't want people to advertise, we definitely do, but at the same time, we don't want it to be poorly done or a collection of, odds and ends within the city. I'll let Jessica kind of go into more of the detail because she actually put in quite a bit of time and effort, and like I said, we didn't want it on the shelf. We wanted it to start moving forward. Perfect timing with the political season coming up. I'll let Jessica and Gio touch base on the two sections. And then if you have questions.
Okay,
Okay, so, again, with the signage, I went through and changed a lot of the definitions, it's the same that I did with our zoning, I just took them. Word for word out of our zoning ordinance, our international zoning code book. So whatever has been striked out and read in the definition, it's been replaced word for word from our zoning book that we adopted, so. It just makes it more cohesive in what we're talking about when it comes to our code and our ordinance being married together. There's a couple in there that did not have a definition, and one was the A-frame sign. That's something that we have a problem with a lot, especially with people putting multiple in public right of ways, them obstructing people's view. They're putting them on sight triangle issues where people are coming around the corner and they can't see. So I did edit that a little bit, and that was not something that was in the international zoning code, so I had to take it from other cities. I just went and stole some ideas from other people.
Okay.
We
We borrowed it. Yeah, and so I would definitely, like the definition part, you guys are more than happy to read all of them and see if there's anything that doesn't make sense or something that maybe that needs to be changed. I'm not perfect, but I try my best, or if there's a grammatical issue, I know we've caught a few of those through this process. With the A-frame signs, they're also called sandwich boards. They're gonna be the second page. Oh, I'm looking at a different book.
Portable sign?
It's gonna be under A-frame sandwich board sign.
Yeah, she's got it under A-frame. It was on page 10. I think it's 105. but I saw that.
Two different.
Picture, wait, is that what she's got?
It's gonna be on page.
I got a V shape.
It's gonna be page 100 of 133.
Oh.
Second page.
Here,
And A-frame sandwich board sign, a frame sandwich board sign, also known as an A-frame sign, are a type of freestanding portable sign that is used to promote business events that are made up of two panels that are connected by a hinge which allow the panel to be opened and closed like a book.
now, do you have a material they must be made of?
That doesn't matter so much as far as. that
Because we
goes.
get we get quite a few that, like up there on campus, that blow around in the wind because they're too lightweight.
So that's what the one of the things as far as like putting them on the sidewalks, because we have some places that have like them spread all through town and just for one business. So that was an issue that's come up multiple times, and we don't want 10 signs on a corner. And then
Right.
people with a wheelchair trying to get up, or with a mother and her baby trying to get up there with a stroller or something, and they're trying to weave through, or somebody has to get off, worse, they have to get off the sidewalk to get back on the sidewalk because of an obstruction.
Yeah, I'm
So-
thinking of the one on Front Street Books, seems to be fine. It doesn't go anywhere in the wind. It's made out of cast iron.
It's heavy, but it definitely blocks traffic when you're trying to turn.
Does it?
Which one? It does.
Front Street.
Front Street
Street?
books,
Right
yeah,
against the
right
tree.
where it's at, and they put it right there at the end so everybody can see it, and you cannot, if there's cars, anything, which there's always cars parked there.
Yeah.
And you're trying to turn left there, you cannot see a car coming.
Okay, wow.
up on that end.
I don't know.
That's my biggest, that's the one sign in town that really gives me trouble.
I think it gives everybody trouble.
Right.
There's very few roads that'll go down between the hours of 8 and 5 because you can't see.
I don't use that.
I don't use that road at all, and I don't use Seventh and the one way either over by the county, because there's so many access between Joe Crow and our department right there. I do not go down. either
Well,
one
I
of
have
those.
Fourth and I have Third.
Yeah.
Pick a,
I
pick
know
a
there's
big
certain
place,
ones I
right?
will avoid
Because
because
any way I
can't see
look,
during
you're gonna
the
get,
day.
if you're gonna turn left, you can't see past what's down there. But that one is, I think sometimes if they would maybe put it further up the sidewalk rather than right on that corner, if they would move it up the other way a little bit, it would be helpful. So,
Yeah, so
But right now, that would be approved. That's
Yeah,
not,
no, no, we're gonna go to the portable signs, because Abraham's gonna bring you to portable signs, which is gonna be on 107 of
Oh,
133. And these are the regulations for a portable sign. Because an A-frame is considered one of those,
okay.
so. So they would, no, go ahead.
This is actually the most important part when it comes to the portable sign, having these regulations.
Yeah,
So this was the section that made me happy because of what you guys just.
is there a number of portable signs they're allowed? Because there's one that, like, I know which one you're talking about around town that puts them out like on 12 corners.
so portable signs is gonna give you our regulations that I added into our ordinance, and so. You could follow along and let me know if this is answering your questions,
Okay,
okay?
Fine.
So page 107 of 133.
so okay, I got it right in front of me.
So it brings out that portable signs are only permitted in commercial districts and the M, which would be industrial. And designated in this code should be subject to the following limitations. Not more than one such sign shall be displayed on any property and shall not exceed a height of 4 feet nor an area of 6 square feet. No signs advertised a business shall be placed outside the perimeter of the property lines along the designated right of way. So they can be along the perimeter of their building, but they can't exceed that. So you can't have multiple and multiple.
You can't be on the
So would you
sidewalk.
be able to keep the ones that Trans-Pecos makes, that Scoops has there, no?
No.
And what about the one at Cobos, cause that one blocks the view a lot.
That has to
Yeah.
stay in, so. If a property owner owns a business and they wanna put a sign on their property line, that's fine. This is talking about the public right of way.
But it
so
would be public right away.
It wouldn't be if it's on Cobos's property line.
Okay.
So they would have to pull it in and put it on their property. Right
Which
now, it's
should
sitting on the public right of way, and there's nothing, yeah, it'd solve that. Because it'd be pulled back, but the problem right now is it's sitting on a public right of way and it's an obstruction. If they don't put it exactly where it's supposed to, it doesn't, you have to have at least 4 feet for a wheelchair or somebody to walk through a drive-through. I mean, to get through, so. Depending on who's working that day and how, I mean, I've had so many people that have called in complaints because they couldn't see, and then I have to go tell the property owner, you have to go pull your. There's a sight triangle of 15 feet in both directions, you have to measure it, and how many employees every day are gonna go out and do that? And so this will eliminate all of that, so that all these corners that people put all these signs on, they won't be able to do that anymore, they'd have to be in front of their property, along the property line, so like where Cobo says they could essentially have a sign there if it's on their property, they can't have it on the public right away though.
So if in Holland, this would stop that.
Yeah,
And who would enforce this?
Oh, Betty.
But at the same time, updating the business
yeah,
owners.
yeah, we'd have to send letters and notify,
Okay.
because there are some that are notorious for putting out multiple, and there's been nothing regulating it. So there's nothing wrong with it until the ordinance is adopted. Once, it's just like the light ordinance. We are gonna have to notify people and educate people before we start penalizing them. I don't wanna just go in and start throwing tickets at everybody. I have to actually let them know this has changed, send them letters, let them know, and then explain to them why we did this and the issues that we're having for the city. It's not gonna be, I want it to be an educational thing, if anything.
Sure, absolutely, especially.
Quick question, so they would require to have an application for these portable signs, is that what I'm?
Yes, yes.
And
Any
so,
signs having an area greater than 6 square feet,
so,
so
and,
that's a
and
2x3.
and I'm not really sure what portable exactly signs we're talking about, but I'm imagining, okay, somebody has a sign in their house. How are
We're
they
talking
gonna,
like the Soros plays, when they put the signs out and they blow all
Yes.
over the place, that's the kind of sign we're talking.
but how is so many people gonna know? I mean, students and people make signs all the.
So
the time.
signage in residential is not allowed for display of commercial use. You can't advertise commercial use in a residential area. Unless it's like 1 square foot, if you read the ordinance, this is just for commercial advertising.
What about those, like she was saying, people that are running for elections, those
That's
signs?
a
That's the
completely
next
separate
section,
section,
and I can
yeah.
So
cover
there's a
that.
whole section to deal with the speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have something that is a special permit that is questionable of whether it's commercial or residential, you can't have a sign on it. If you're using it as commercial.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So if you're in a residence, so. The building I'm renting is, it's partial commercial, partial residential. It's, and I wanna turn it into a business. Are you saying that that building cannot have any signage on it?
If it's zoned
what it's
residential by our
zoned.
ordinance, you wouldn't be able to put a sign on it. If it's commercial, yeah.
Okay, but. If it's in a residential area and it's questionable, I may be confusing everybody because I'm confused,
Well,
but
actually, let me. If it's an SUP for a home business.
So a
Then you have
home-based
to
business,
sign
there are
that-
regulations in the home
Yeah,
occupation,
yeah.
Act. They can have a sign, but you'd have to have a special use conditional use permit for a home occupation.
It's like the beauty shop did.
Mhm.
okay,
I can't go put a sign outside my house selling fresh eggs.
yeah, I get it, okay.
Without a permit.
Or chickens.
I'm gonna say, but I can see cow dogs next unless there's signs in the way, but I think they put a sign down in front on the corner in
Yeah, a
front.
lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's
But-
not, it's constantly.
it's
But
on
But
both
is
sides.
their
going up
sign
on the
okay
bond
where
for-
it's at on that sidewalk? Cause if it's not, next thing they're gonna ask me is, can I put it in your yard?
They put it out
That's
every
what
day.
everybody asks me. Can I put it in your
But
yard?
your yard's residential, right?
No,
No, it's
I'm
commercial.
You're
commercial.
Okay, well, then tell
I
me.
mean, but I'm just. I'd rather not have it in my yard.
$10 a day?
They pick that sign up every day, right?
Much, they're really good about
Yeah.
taking it in and out. They're
Scoops?
Cow dog. Yeah, they're really good about taking it in and out.
Their ducks are so good. Okay.
So, going back to the question, if it's on a public right of way, the answer would be no, it wouldn't be accepted.
Okay,
What, their sign
Yeah.
on, okay, so on
Yeah,
the corner,
It's not sign lot.
But not without a permit.
okay,
Not without the permit.
so they need to come get a permit to put it out there.
And they're only allowed to have one on their business line, so they wouldn't be able to put it on your corner. They'd have to have it against their business, like their property line.
You might want to let them know.
Well, this is the ordinance that we've developed. It hasn't been passed yet. Right now, there's no ordinance in place. They could put 15
No,
down.
I
And
don't think
we
they
can't
know they
stop
need to
that.
have a permit
Cause
for
we
it.
have no ordinance in place for
They
A-frame
did
signs.
before,
So it's
didn't
like,
they?
this is the beginning of
Or
it.
This
they
is the
don't
beginning.
require a permit for A-frames right now, right?
Anything over
did.
6 square feet, I think is what. it is.
Anything over 6 square feet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have a question. Not more than one such sign shall be displayed on any property. What does that mean? Any single property, any property that they own?
So
Or-
each premise can have one A-frame sign or one portable sign,
Just one,
just one.
just one.
Okay.
So
That
they
was
can't
my-
have 6 signs around town.
Yeah.
5 blocks away. Okay.
That's what we're trying to avoid. This is what
That was my
this is what
question.
this section is for.
But what about the special event signs? I know that's just above it, but
Plays and things like that.
yeah, what
Yeah,
are the
from the
rules for that?
school and-
Those are like the banners that go over the public right
Uh-huh.
of way and,
But if you had an event,
Well, so
can
the-
you put up?
No, the play.
Sign.
Gold Ross does the A-frames.
Yeah.
At the bank.
Mm-hmm, Amigos, all in that area.
So that would not be allowed though, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's right away.
For the event.
they're allowed for the event, but they can't obstruct traffic visibility.
So how do you get, is that a permit thing for the
They would have
event?
to get a permit if it's like over 6 square feet.
Okay,
So if Saul Ross wants to go put it by the bank on the
Yeah.
right of way, they can do that.
It says signs ever, this is out of the book, I didn't.
We're learning.
They shall not be prohibited in over a public right of way subject to approval of the code official. So yeah, they would have to have a size, the location. And. Yeah, they would be allowed for that special event, but they couldn't be there all the time.
so like
So
the
they-
gem and mineral show, I
I
could
think
get a
that A
permit.
temporary sign's only allowable so many times a year.
It's an
It tells
event,
you in
so
here.
when
Yeah.
it's over, it goes.
And this doesn't
Yeah.
like limit us from doing the overhead ones, right? For the
No.
events? No, okay.
No,
What do you mean by the overhead ones?
The big
Ones
ones.
over-
they-
Banners,
the banners over the
across
street.
the road.
Those
and
have a
things like
different
that.
process.
Like Gem and Mineral Show. and-
Rodeo.
I
and all
just
that
wanted to
stuff.
make sure there was.
no, there's nothing regulated.
Yes, they spend a lot of money making those banners.
Our properties or the steep ones properties, it's if it's in the right of way, right?
This is business.
It's all commercial.
Basically on the sidewalk,
Yeah,
anything on the main road sidewalks is
Mhm.
state
As long as they're not
property,
real
and city
residential.
properties on the sides.
As long as it's not on the private. So the sidewalks for most of these properties are text right of way, and the signs wouldn't be allowed.
But would a sidewalk of the city would also be a right of way, right?
Correct.
So outside of Scoops in front of their establishment, it would still be our right of way.
So they can't have these signs now, it says open now, basically.
5 blocks away too.
They can't put them all over town.
Okay.
Political, were you gonna keep going? Are you wanting us to?
Do you have any question on the portable sign?
I do, is there an issue with them? Just
Yes.
curious.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
there
with
is.
visibility, like I struggle with the one by Cobos all the time. There's some other ones that they mentioned. I think it looks a little tacky outside of Trans-Pecos Bank's location. That's just my personal opinion.
it does. I think so.
Very
too.
Is there an accident today too at that location?
There was an accident
At
over
Cobos.
by Cobos, yes.
Yeah, I think it's somebody.
And they were
saying
complaining about it.
that sign.
In the corner of Fifth and Holland, because they tend to block the accessibility of the sidewalk. Especially when we have some events like Art Walk, people are trying to put their signs up, you've got the traffic still going through, it really becomes a safety issue.
But like okay, so like Amigos over there, the old Gringo right there, they have the little sign right, but they put it right in front of the door.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
that's
along the
good.
perimeter of their
Yeah,
building, yeah.
yeah, and that's
They
fine.
can have one, and
So that's
what-
okay,
yeah.
and that's what they do, so, yeah.
So a business can only have one in their premises?
Mhm.
Is that what the new ordinance, or is
Yeah,
that
that's
what?
what's been edited.
Yeah.
Right now,
They've
there's-
been
there's
putting
no
them
limit.
everywhere.
Right now, there's no regulation.
limit, there's,
Right.
they can do anything they want.
Yeah.
But if I have a business that's in a corner, I might wanna have a sign in this side and one in this side. Why not?
Then go get a special use permit for it.
But that's what I mean, we're making it harder for some of those businesses, I understand the signs on the road, but what about as a business
Go
now?
with a permanent sign instead of a sign. The nice, spend some money.
You have to, or you're gonna, I mean, at some point you have
But
to draw a
the-
line, even like that, we had this conversation last year on the broken signs, because you wanna go talk to people about like the frames and how awful it looks, but then again, you kind of hate it, because they don't have the money to go get it all taken down and cut up and taken care of. But then, okay, so you just leave it looking crummy because you don't want to go, tell them to cut it down and, because it's gonna be a hardship on them.
Amigo
Same difference.
is a corner, and they only have one. And there's no regulation of it at all right now. They
Which
can have
one?
20 if they want it.
But I don't think they would really have much room to put any more,
Yeah.
because the rest of their.
And
property
that's
is
just
really-
thinking about our businesses, is we want them to grow and advertise and do things. It's like for every single thing, they need to come and get a permit.
No, only for A-frames.
Well, you have to get permits for
Yeah.
all your signs.
Oh,
anyway,
oh,
pretty
you
much.
do?
Yeah, I guess the other sign.
Yeah, because they have sign
Yeah. For the building.
parameters that they have
Yep.
to go by per building, but,
You
So
can get a-
for a regular store, they could have a sign here, a permanent sign here and a permanent sign here.
Like for Javelinas.
yeah.
Yeah,
as
just
long
not-
as
just
it's-
not
it
A-frame.
falls
They could have
within
a
the
nice
regulations
sign
of
on
where
the
the
building.
signs
What do you
should
mean
be
by
along.
A-frame?
These are
The ones
the
that
ones,
sandwich board.
those sandwich boards.
The ones that sit in the sidewalk.
That's what we're
actually sit
talking
On the
about.
sidewalk. Obstruct the
So
sidewalk.
they're limited to one of those. They're not limited to necessarily one sign for their store above the door, right?
Yeah, they could have signage
They
on their
can-
wall, on their facade, anywhere.
Yeah.
What about like those hanging ones that people sometimes like, oh, open a new business, what are they called? They're,
Oh, like
Banners,
grand opening?
just a
Banner?
grand opening. banner.
yeah, but the banners.
Yeah, those should be okay, because you
Yeah.
can get a permit for those. You put them up for a certain period of time. And after like, what is it? I don't know what it is, but usually it's a certain period of
Usually
time, you have to
15
take them
days, yeah.
down.
You
And then
do
you
have
put
to
them
get a
back up and
permit
down.
for everything.
So then-
But you kind of
There's a
want
lot
to.
You don't need a
Yeah.
permit,
So
you don't need a
there's a-
permit for a grand opening sign.
Are you
Okay,
done
but
for a
I'm gonna
banner?
talk about grand opening, and I'm gonna use an example, our clinic. We have a sign in the doors that says our logo, but we have one big one that's, I don't know, maybe 10 by. I don't know how long, it's one of those,
You change up the letters.
yeah, and it's hanging, because we have a lot, it's hanging in one of the huge fans, has our phone numbers and all of our services. That is considered a temporary, right, sign, it's in my property, but it's a temporary sign. And then in the other property, it's one huge, I think we have one for dental and one for medical over here, and that's why I'm asking,
Because
because,
Those signs are not obstructing the public right of way as a portable sign. Those are affixed signs.
Yeah, but no, they're not because they're made out of,
Final.
yeah, vinyl.
We're not regulating the material. So you can have a sign and get a sign permit to advertise your business. With any material, there's no material regulations for it. But if it's on a wall or a fence or on the building or wherever, you're gonna get a sign permit for them to get them. But one that you're gonna put for an A-frame sign, which is one that's gonna sit on the sidewalk. And so people have to walk around it, or it's on the public right of way. It's not on your property line. So one on your property, like a marquee
But
or
in
something
here,
like
are
that.
we also changing something about the signs that are in our property line? No, okay,
So if there's a section, it's called General Regulation 78-3, and it's already actually in the ordinance, it wasn't changed.
okay.
Specifically addressed canopy signs or hanging signs. So that's actually already in the ordinance, that's not being changed.
Yeah, this is a new part. So regulating those, especially those A-frames.
Okay,
It's the sidewalk that people bike down, walk down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Trying
more
to keep
so-
it open for the traffic to
Yeah.
get through.
Or if I had a wooden doohickey, it had, 2 legs, and I had a sign affixed to it, and I went out and I went right here at City Hall and put it right in the middle of the sidewalk. That would be like a portable sign that would block the sidewalk from people using. That's what we're trying to talk
Yeah.
about.
Not the ones that go inside the property line. So if she wanted to put it on the city property, that's completely different.
Yep.
You can have as many of those as you want.
okay. I understood
Yeah.
you could not have those in your own
On
property
the
too.
sidewalk, where
Okay.
everyone has to walk.
Yeah.
So you can have the sandwich boards all over your personal property,
There's nobody stopping you from that.
even with the ordinance changes. Okay, I was just wondering.
I don't know who'd want to do that, but
I know.
I don't know who'd want to do that. but
Okay.
I don't even know if there's a place you could do that.
And that would have
Maybe
to
at the
be, that would also have to be in R1 or R2 or something like residential.
There's no signs
there's no-
allowed unless
yeah.
you have a home occupation.
Okay,
And those are, yeah, you'd have to go through a special use conditional use permit.
That's political.
now where am I?
What
Okay.
is considered a political sign?
So.
Like, what's the
Vote
actual?
for Lisa.
Definition, I believe it's.
Huh?
Vote for Lisa. That would be.
No, I mean, you see signs from several elections that go up, so I'm just wondering what is actually considered.
Well, it might be a good idea to add a
'Cause it-
definition, because I don't believe there
I
is.
think I
one.
So the definition is a sign that contains a political message.
Is that in this ordinance?
Yeah, I added it. in
Yeah,
there from-
yeah.
Okay, it could be just a name
Yeah.
is considered a,
Vote Megan.
does it have to say vote?
Not
No.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Megan for.
Making for dog catcher.
We're very limited as to what we can.
Doctor.
Okay,
But this ordinance basically would allow us to implement what we can, so it would
Okay.
make it to where. They are permitted in all zoning districts, but they. Basically, such signs for election candidates or ballot propositions shall be displayed only for a period of 60 days preceding the election. And shall be removed 10 days after the election. Provided that signs promoting successful candidates or ballot propositions in a primary election may remain displayed until not more than 10 days after the general election. So that's like the first intro to that. Like I said, we're really kind of limited as far as to what we can do.
okay,
So if they're putting a sign on their own public property or personal property, I mean, we can implement those time restrictions and cite them if they're up past that. But even that is kind of a gray area. You really
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
it's just a sign on their lawn, like,
Yeah.
cities have gotten sued over that, even though we technically can,
Yeah.
And then Jessica, one of her concerns was you see sign fences or something like that with political signs where they just use them to build,
Yeah,
put them all up on
Yeah.
fences.
mhm,
So
you
this
don't
would-
see them as much here, but they are possible.
Also, we've had a lot of issues with political signs on public property. Because it looks like the city's endorsing a candidate or whatever. But we're pretty limited on what we can do right now. We don't have zero regulation. So if somebody did want to put up a political sign. If it's near an election, there is like 100 feet. You could take it off. If it's 100 feet from the polling place, we can do that already.
mhm.
But, in any of our property that's past 100 feet right now, we could put any political sign.
Okay.
Again, it makes it look like, somebody put a sign on the draft department for a candidate and somebody called complaint and technically we can't do it, we need to leave it up under the current ordinance. So this would allow us
A
to
tool for you.
regulate that. So it would basically make it to, it's only allowed at an early voting location or election day location. And then there's just, you know, basically some requirements as far as what would be allowed there.
And then 10 days after the election, it has to be down.
Yes.
Okay, you can
But
enforce,
actually.
you can enforce that.
It's easily enforced on the public side, like if they're putting it up, you know, say
Right.
across the street from us.
Yep.
On someone's personal property, if I had a big old sign on my property, I don't think we would rush out and cite them.
Right, that's free speech. Yeah.
But the ones that are
It would be 60 days for after the election for private property.
Okay.
So that's like more than enough time, even though, I mean, you still see November signs up.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so-
oh, yeah, yeah.
And as far as the public property is concerned, you can only put it up at an early voting location or election day location 2 days prior to early voting. You'd have to take it down 2 days after, and then election day, 2 days prior to election day, and you'd have to take it down 2 days after.
What about the signage that I see them on the back of the pickup trucks? So they can park
They
that wherever
have
they
that.
want
It's in
to.
there.
Is it?
Yeah.
What section?
It's paid 1325, 13 of 25. The vehicles or trailers, they added that.
Okay, okay.
And that's why I was asking, is this just for, or, you know, if somebody has it on their property, doesn't matter, right? But
Well, as long as it's not up past 60 days.
on the
And-
political side.
On the
On
political sign,
political
yeah,
sign,
this is
and
just
that
political
is,
signs.
You know, again, even then is a little gray area because it's really hard to regulate private property. But I think, you know, we can implement an ordinance that regulates the time, place and manner of political signs. So we could, you know, basically implement that time frame. And I don't think it's a bad time frame. 60 days after an election is fine.
I think there's one political sign up that has been up for 9 years. Maybe 10.
Stop.
When I first started working for this.
Where is it? Which one?
2014.
Okay.
where is it?
Wow.
I'm not gonna call them out.
I'm trying to think of where she's talking about.
I'll have to go cruising.
I'm
after
curious.
this.
Yeah.
That sign. That's funny.
As far as this recommendation, this is something that's fairly new, but it cleans up a lot of stuff, a lot of the issues.
We experience every election issues with people complaining about the signs, and right now we can't do anything, so it would help us on that side.
And this is something that most cities seem to have. So,
I believe Geo borrowed this from another.
City of Dallas,
okay.
they have the attorneys, you know, I mean, all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
attorneys to review everything, I
Yeah.
figured they'd be a good one to go. after.
Yep. Okay, any more discussion?
No, I think it's some stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's been needing to be done. At least it's a start. We may have to go back later.
You're the expert on it, so.
I wouldn't call myself an expert, Jessica's an expert on it, but I would say it's a start. And so then you can take this and apply it to what we've got going out there and see if we can clean up some of the signs.
Okay.
Now, just for clarification, there is a section in here that those who are non-conforming. As of when this passes, which will take some time, because you'll still have to go before council. They don't have to automatically be conforming. So they'll be allowed to stay as they are. And then if they want to make the changes and they want to do anything, they will have to come.
Okay, so, but by saying conforming, it doesn't, grandfather, that doesn't include the signs that are already broken. They don't get to just stay that way.
No, if you look, read, section,
Because we would not.
section. Maintenance, repair and removal, page 18 of 25, or page 114 of 133.
We can 25. Okay, yeah, because that's been one of the big
That's one of
things
the big
in the
problems.
towns, but we have so many,
Got it.
yeah.
There's a difference between a non-conforming sign and a sign that's considered for repair. And so there's non-conforming, which it exists, there's nothing wrong with it. And there's maintenance, repair, and removal.
Well, that's good.
Okay,
So
Uh,
it's broken. It was conforming,
Then
but
they could
there's a
slide.
panel out and they
There we
could,
go.
that's all I needed to know. Yeah, there you go. There was one other question. No, I was trying to think what it was. There was another-
What about the penalties? I know we didn't have one and now. Cause this is, it will not exceed 500, so what is it gonna be?
It's just basically blanket amount.
It's
The
up
state
to
law
500.
lets us go up to $500 at what can be prosecuted in a municipal court.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to have to do that. You send them a letter, you ask them
They're
to fix it,
usually
because they're gonna
low.
be out some costs fixing it, and they're not gonna have to pay the 500 as long as they get the sign fixed, right?
yeah, exactly.
Corrected,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, they got 10 days
If
to do
they
it.
take it all the way to citation, they're gonna pay for the court fees, but it's like $81.
Okay.
If they don't work with me, if they don't call me and they disregard every letter, because I usually send a regular letter. And then I'll do a certified
They
letter.
get, yeah, they
And
get.
so I give them
it's
plenty of
processed.
time to contact me. If they
Right.
don't contact me, then I'll go to citation. Once it goes to citation, you're talking about the work of the court clerk and the judge and everything that it takes for that court. So they do charge them for the court fee, even if they comply in between that time, they never contact me, they're still gonna pay their court fee, but they won't get a fine on top of that.
Okay.
Okay,
I still have the number of the guy who's willing to come around and cut them down for free. He just wanted the metal to haul off.
there you go.
I mean, he was willing to go, as long as they'd sign off, say he'd come on their property and cut those signs down.
You can
would do it for
contact them
free.
personally on.
I know, I still have his number, but we never got that far, so I didn't go there. My next question was on dark skies, and I know you said that's a totally different lighting thing. But as I recall, and I don't know where it would be in here, there was a conflict within, what we were calling for and it's weird, it's the light shades or the color of the bulbs or whatever. And what Dark Skies was calling for, and I actually, was it Laura that helped write Dark Skies? And I actually had a conversation with her and pointed it out to her that there was a conflict between what they had passed and what our current signing ordinance requested. And I thought she was gonna go back and see if she could address it, if not on theirs, maybe on this one's where.
It might be
needs to
G
addressed.
on page 16 to 25, or 112 to 133 under general illumination and design. I did not edit that.
Well, I only found it when I went back and read the Dark Skies and pointed it out to her. So just do this and then I'll go back and see if I can find my notes on the other one. And I'll walk across the street and talk to her.
But everybody that goes through the process of getting a sign has, to, and it's gonna be illuminated, has to send me all the specs on the actual
Right,
Kelvin
yeah.
limits. They can't just get a sign permit without those being signed off on. So. Unless they put a sign up without a permit and then I have to go and penalize them and then they have it.
Yeah.
Now, is Dark Sky addressed directly in here?
Dark Skies has its own,
Has a
dark-
yeah, it's not in here, but if when I was looking at it and I have, like I said, the notes, I probably don't have them with me, they're at home. I found the difference between the two and it was conflicting and when I showed it to her, she even agreed that it needed to be addressed, so.
All right, well, are we ready to vote?
I'll make a motion.
Oh,
I'll second it.
I believe
There was.
well,
Yeah,
we
there was
already
already-
did, we already did that.
Oh,
We
okay.
already did that.
Take a vote.
All in favor, vote aye.
I,
I get it going.
We are unanimous. Okay, any board member comments? Seeing none,
Bam.
7:12, stand adjourned.